Hi there, my name is Frank Johnson, and I'm going to be discussing sort of the reasoning behind why I made this website, as well as the importance I think this website has. So first of all, I am a third year student going into my fourth year studying at the University of South Florida. Specifically, I'm studying economics. However, I've had two previous years working in the culinary industry, and I believe that I want to sort of set my skills and my degree towards continuing that culinary industry, um, my involvement in that culinary industry. And really, through this course, it gave me a really unique perspective as to how the culinary industry, as well as the Tampa Bay community, sort of deals with the deaf community as well as communities that are marginalized, and how there really, to me at least, doesn't seem that there's a certain support system in place, specifically in the industry that I'm currently involved in. And so, as some background, I have two relatives who are deaf, both an aunt and an uncle. They're both married to each other. Um, and through them, I've actually heard that they've both have had difficulties all through their life finding employment. Specifically, neither of them have found the opportunity to find any leadership positions in where they work, just because they don't feel as if there is this sort of support dynamic. In fact, my uncle is actually he works for Disney, and Disney, out of all companies, you would think that there would be some kind of support system in helping those marginalized people sort of um, help them out through through their employment. And in all reality, what he's told me is that he's had issues finding employment, specifically sort of climbing the ladder in Disney. Um, and so I guess what I really wanted to do with this website was sort of explore how the deaf community is impacted in the Tampa Bay area, and sort of look at some of the local businesses and how they deal with the deaf community and what sort of support network they have in place, as well as sort of reflect on my own personal experience. And so, as I mentioned, I have had two previous years of experience in the culinary industry, and I currently am actually employed in the culinary industry part time as well as being a full time student. And so I work for a large company. I won't disclose the name of. And to me, it seems that they almost have no real support network for people who are marginalized or disabled or specifically deaf. Um, in fact, I am relatively close friends with my manager, and from what I've gathered, there's almost no support network for people in the fast food industry specifically who are deaf. From what I've been told, that creating that sort of dynamic where a member of the deaf communities can work in a fast-paced food environment where there are dangers to not being able to hear. Specifically, one of the audible cues that you use when working in a restaurant is behind you, and all that kind of thing and all that kind of stuff. And so specifically for a lot of my co-employees and other counterparts, working with a deaf person might be hard for them, because they don't want to possibly harm another person by accidentally running into them with a hot pan. Um, However, I do believe that there are networks that can be installed and can be taught to these local communities and local small businesses about how to incorporate deaf people in those small businesses. I absolutely believe that deaf people should be able to work in the fast food industry. They should be able to work anywhere they want to work. However, as one of the Tampa Bay Times articles points out, the Tampa Bay area is one of the largest populations of deaf people in the United States. And many of the deaf people who live here really believe that there isn't a large network of support for them. Um, and so, really, what I would kind of want to do and kind of include in my career moving henceforth is sort of moving up in my, because at some point I would like to open my own restaurant, open my own business. But I really want to look at how I lead that certain restaurant and how I can really have members of the deaf community and other members of certain disabled communities also be able to work hand in hand with my corporation or my business. I actually took lots of inspiration from Ryan Masaletsky, the TEDx video that I featured on my website, and how he talked about being a member of the deaf community. And he actually created his own deaf-owned and deaf-ran not website, sorry, deaf-owned restaurant. And so to me, I would love to incorporate members of the deaf community in my own restaurant. I would also love to see larger corporations, specifically like the one I work for, also take the steps to incorporate members of the deaf community in their restaurants, specifically in leadership positions. Because as I've seen through my uncle and aunt, who are both deaf, they have a very interesting viewpoint of the world, as well as a very, very interesting problem solving techniques that they use and apply in their field of work. And I believe that members of the community who have different viewpoints and different world experiences can give an invaluable amount of information to businesses and help them kind of keep running in a way that sort of differentiates them from the rest.